Hello, everybody. Welcome to Going D1 Real Recruiting Stories. This is episode 10. We've got Isaiah Campbell here. He is an assistant coach for the SMU men's basketball team, and has coached also at the University of Tennessee and Georgia State as well. And so yeah, he's got lots of perspective on basketball. And yeah, we're excited to have him here. So yeah, thanks Isaiah for coming on.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, Dad, obviously you played basketball in college. You understand this game a little bit better than I do. But I think it's interesting to I think it's good that we'll be able to get sort of a coaching perspective from this. You played a little bit in college, right, Isaiah?
Yeah, I played 2 years at a NAIA school in Tennessee, Bryan College, before I transferred to Tennessee, and started. That's really when I started getting into the coaching side of it, I guess you could say. When I first had transferred to Tennessee, I was actually working with the baseball team.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, I was actually working with the strength and conditioning side, because I kind of wanted to do what Jose was doing.
Hmm.
Um, and the basketball team didn't really have any openings then, when I first transferred to Tennessee. And then we ended up, started talking to a couple people. And Don actually, there was somebody at the church that he was really close with that was close with Coach Barnes. And so I went over there and met with him. And he said that they'd have like positions open up the next season. Luckily I was able to get on with them. I worked the kids camp at the end. That was kind of like our preliminary tryout, to get on the staff.
Hmm.
And luckily it worked out, and it's been great ever
That's
since.
that's awesome. So did you since you played since you played basketball, did you always want to like be coaching in basketball as opposed to baseball, or like if you were looking at strength and conditioning, did that kind of change for you after you got a spot with the basketball team?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because because they're doing what he does, I always kind of like wanted to be in that field, in the strength and
Uh-huh.
conditioning side of it, but I never really like knew really what it was, growing up, I thought it was just like, all right, you're just around people, get to train them, put them through workouts, and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
and like the more that you get in there and see like the everyday and ends out, it's like that's not really what it is. You got to learn the body, see what programs work for different athletes,
Right.
what is best suited for them, and get your guys bigger, stronger, and faster.
Oh,
Um, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was like going in college. I just kind of wanted to
yeah.
be around. So I wanted to work with the football team at one point, wanted to do baseball, wanted to do basketball. But it made more sense for the basketball because I played it and I had more of an understanding of it.
Right.
I played baseball growing up all the way up to eighth grade, but
Okay.
I didn't really like have like a full true like good enough
Yeah.
understanding
Yeah.
of how it
Yeah.
all went. And
Definitely.
so basketball was a game that I loved, and so
Yeah.
I kind of just went with that. Went with the route of being a manager. It's like kind of your first in
Right.
college athletics is being a
Kind
student
of starting
manager.
at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, starting at the bottom, being a student manager, and then that's kind of when I really was like, all right, like the coaching thing, get into like
Yeah.
actually coaching, and because I had a full, like I said, I had to understand this of basketball. I
Hmm.
played it
Hmm.
all my life growing up. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship, and then like once I got to Tennessee and saw like the real like grind of it all, like I was like, this is it, like this is what I want
Yeah.
to do.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I still want to get a job in the NBA, so that's still like on my like keep going up. But this, getting in college basketball, I saw that that's like your next closest thing to like getting to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, for
In
sure.
terms of coaching.
Yeah. So, um, having, I guess we'll start at Tennessee since that's where you were first, but, being around such a big program, obviously, the SEC and one of the better teams in the conference, and under it was Rick Barnes, right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
Coach Vaughn.
under him. What do you feel like? What do you feel like that experience sort of gave you in terms of understanding the coaching aspect of it, since that was sort of the first time that you flipped to the other side. What were some of the things that stood out to you the most about that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like being in the when you're student manager, you don't really have much of a say. Like
Yeah, yeah.
there, you come in there, do what you're asked, do all the stuff you need to do. You're on the outskirts, like you're literally on the baseline during practice in there.
Mm-hmm.
Either rebounding for guys when you're doing drills, or you're wiping up sweat whenever the guys walk on the floor. So but like from that, like we have like really good relationships with the players. So like in practice, we were friends with them on and off the court. But while I was there, that's when I kind of started learning like you can when you get in between the lines of like the grits and grind of practice and like developing your players, it's business, like it's work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I was able to all of our coaches were great and they had good off the court relationships with our players. So when this practice was over, it was they were always like they could easily start joking around with one of the coaches, or Coach Barnes would bring someone over the side conversation with them. Whether it was good or bad, some of the players didn't want to go there and talk to them 95% of the time, like coming off
Yeah.
like hard, like how hard practices were and stuff. But
Yeah.
that's when I really started to understand like the true like mind of it and starting to like get
Right.
grasp
Right.
like different concepts and stuff and like
Right.
understanding the game more. Like I knew the game, because like I said, I played it, but I didn't really fully understand the game.
Uh-huh.
So
You were
like the
sort of
game,
getting a deeper, so
right?
you feel like you were kind of getting a deeper understanding of not only basketball but also how the coaches and players are sort of interacting in terms of practice and outside of practice as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Because different guys respond to different types of
Right.
way coaches coaching you. Some, Coach Barnes is going to be harder on certain players because that's what they respond to, and some he's might not be, because
Yeah.
or he's going to be like that with all of his players. And if he can't take it, then you're gonna have to 95% of those guys leave because they can't take that type of coaching, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not like built, and they're not built for Coach Barnes's like style of coaching that he does.
Right.
And now that
Right.
I'm here with like Coach Lanier since I've been with him for the thing is my 6th year. There's a big difference between their coaching styles. Like Coach Lanier's not gonna yell 95% of the time at the players. Like
Uh-huh.
he can get his message across with his mellow attitude that he has about himself. The players respond to that, that way. But he has his times when he gets onto the players and the players know, all right, like no more of this. Like
Yeah.
we got it.
Yeah.
Like let's get right back to it and get right to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that that's interesting how everybody's kind of got different styles, and it seems like it was a good learning experience for you at Tennessee. Do you remember anything about were you like involved in any way with how they were recruiting at Tennessee, or did you like get any information on that, or how was that?
Yeah, so we would never sit in on the recruiting meetings,
Okay.
but we would be there for the recruits when they were coming to town. We'd have like they'd have depending on like on football game days or when we normally have kids coming in for
Right.
like visits, and then obviously when we had like big games going on, the kids would come in. But we would, during that time it was assistant coaches would handle all that. We were just kind of there. Like if we needed to drive them somewhere on the golf cart, we were driving on the golf cart, whether it
Mm-hmm.
was setting up the tailgates, whatever, breaking down, whatever. We do that. But then like interacting with them like out after the games, like we'd be with them because all the players would like take them out or whatever. So, we'd be like
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with them and stuff like that. So we never really were there, with the whole like recruiting part of it as a manager. But
Right.
now that I'm on the staff now and like a full-time staff member, now I'm like in the realms of like the whole, recruiting role now. Now, the whole recruiting role now is driven by this whole NIL thing that they got going on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which makes the recruiting game so much more competitive and so much harder. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, people are probably still doing it. Had their ways of getting, there's always a middleman, always there's a middleman that you can get through. The people probably were using way back before this was even coming out. to get certain people to go there. But yeah, like when we were at Tennessee, we never really were in on those, on
Right.
those meetings, and really didn't have like hold any weight on those as much as I am able to
Hmm.
now.
That's interesting. Um, so you went to Tennessee, you were at Tennessee, and then you went to Georgia State. Um, did you have the same position at Georgia State for, you were there 3 years, right?
Yeah, I was there for 3 years. So the
Did
first
you have,
two,
yeah, did you have the same position or did you kind of move up while
yeah.
you were
So
there?
when our first year there, it was me and another guy, Dylan Brewster. He was there with me. He was at Tennessee with me, my last year at Tennessee, but
Okay.
he was a graduate assistant at Tennessee, and then he came coached near brought me and him to Georgia State.
Okay.
And the position I have now, I didn't take over until my second year, being the video coordinator. My second year at Georgia State is when I kind of slid it over into that
Okay.
role.
Oh, interesting.
I was just so I was a graduate assistant at Georgia State like the first year.
Right.
I was like kind of more getting into like learning more, helping out on the on-court work, being more hands-on. It's more of a step up. You get
Yeah.
to be like, that's when you really start your coaching. I was helping out with like some of the scouting stuff that we were doing, and a bunch of different stuff. And then that year, whenever the year coming out of COVID, coach would call me and he was like, "Hey, you're still have the same title, but you're going to slide into Dylan's position because Dylan had actually left to go back to Tennessee to take over a head coaching job at his high school that he had played at.
Okay.
So he went back, and then that's when I took over as the video coordinator there, and I did that for my last 2 years at Georgia State before we got the job here.
Okay. Cool. So,
Hey, Gunner.
yeah.
Gunner,
Yeah.
wanted to go back actually. Isaiah, you said something that I think is kind of important um, in recruiting and understanding basketball. You said something about there are always middlemen that can
Yeah.
provide you access to the players. And I think in football, it's typically the high school coach, but in basketball, it's definitely varied. And before we go too much further on sort of the coaching details, I'd love to hear kind of how you as a coaching staff approach the middlemen and who they are, and how do parents and players figure out that whole process, because obviously that's evolving constantly, particularly with NIL. But kind of talk about maybe how it's been and how you think it's going to go with all the NIL changes.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so it's kind of crazy. The middlemen now are these kids all got agents now. Like these kids are getting different type of getting agents, whether it's one of their friends of a friend that are can get them that are already handling, certain other players that they might have deals with that they're signing with. Or it could be their uncle that is just running all of his social media for him. He's running his marketing for him, different things like that. It could be, like I said, close as a family member or someone, a friend of a friend that is an agent. And it's like with this whole recruiting thing, those guys will throw you crazy numbers. They'll be like, yeah, we want to like to get them to come to your school, you're gonna have to pay X amount of money. Or, like even even get into communication with them, you gotta do this, and that to, even
Right.
get in communication with somebody if you want to get them, now depending on what type of player they are, how much that player might be. But it's really just like, I don't want to say it's a headache, but I do, because it's like we aren't trying to get you. We want the kid to come
Right.
and play for us. And we just want to get in contact with him, and we want to get him on campus and let him be around us. The money will take care of itself, but we want to skip step B and just get to step A, which is the kid, the main priority. And yeah, I mean, the whole thing, the whole way that it is now, like, I hate it because it's like the way that the game is going now, the money's driving everything. And it's,
Right.
and you might throw a kid $100,000 because that might be all that your school might have, or that's all you can get him. And they're like, yeah, sorry, that's not enough. We need like 300 to 400,000, maybe even $500,000 for him to even come to
Right.
the school. And it's like,
Right.
that with how this thing is going and it's unraveling, there's no stipulations on it, or no max set limit on it. It's just going to get more out of control as the game goes on, and as the game develops. And it's going to turn to one of those things where, guys in the locker room are going to eventually end up knowing how much certain players are getting, how much their teammates getting. Then they're going to start coming to the head coach complaining, hey, why is he getting more than me? I'm doing this and that. And
Yeah.
he's only bringing this. So
Yeah.
why is he getting more money than me? And so then you got that going on in the locker room. Then now the head coach has got to worry about trying to make this kid happy during the middle of the season when you're trying to win games, because he's worried about the next man's money beside him.
Yeah.
And it's it's funny because our head coach Lanier, he's always great about it. He's like, in the NBA, no one's sitting beside LeBron complaining about he's making $1 million+ and this guy beside him might be on a rookie contract only making $300,000. Like, he's not going to the GM saying, well, why is LeBron making this amount of money and I'm only getting this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're handling your business the way it is. The second you go and do that in the NBA, they'll be like, all right, that's fine. We'll get you out of your contract. You won't have a job anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck.
You'll have no money, And
Yeah.
so it's like, like with that, it's just like some of these kids, that's all they're wrapped up into. And do they deserve to get paid? Yeah, 100%. These kids definitely deserve, for all that they're doing, the work that they're putting in and all that stuff. They should be getting rewarded for getting paid. But at some point, they have to, get control of this, or else it's just going to make matters, worse. And kids are just, with this whole transfer portal thing now, and you can do 2-time transfers, you're going to have kids jumping at school to school now, just fishing out money. It's not even going to be about them enjoying the game and playing. It's going to be, all right, let me just go fish out as much money as I can from one of these schools that I know will pay me, and I'm just going to go there, no matter what I'm doing on the court. I just want the money.
And so I guess one of the things that I look at, is I've looked at it a lot in football in particular. And one of the things that I've noticed, and we actually had a guy on the podcast whose son was paid a significant amount of money to go to West Virginia and play quarterback. And so, he basically admitted that that was probably not the best strategy. And so I guess one of the things I'm curious about is, the fact that a lot of these kids probably can't, well, I don't know what pro contracts are outside of the NBA, but this might be their most lucrative opportunity for their whole career, right? So at the end of the day, basketball is so competitive and such a small group of people that, you almost have to handle it in a unique way, because, these guys, they don't realize it. They're probably all thinking they're going to the NBA, but at the end of the day, the people around them might have some sense, kind of be like, all right, well, if you can make $500,000 in college, you're going to be way better off than everybody else in the family,
Right.
So there's an element of a good thing for them, I guess. How do you think parents could approach that, and athletes could approach that in a positive way, rather than just me and money, as opposed to, team first kind of thing? What do you think is a good way to approach it?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, that's kind of some of the things, we talk about in some of our meetings, because it's like, you hit it on the head. Some of these kids are going to make more money in college than they're going to make after. Like, this might be the most amount of money they might make in their whole playing career. Some of these guys might get, some of these contracts overseas, you're only getting $40,000. So you're like, you're going from going to the school to get $500,000 for 4 years, and then you're going overseas and only making $40,000. So it's like, you need to learn how to, like, manage your money, and depending on, your situation that you come from, like, if you're trying to help out your family, then, you know, you gotta be like serious about like your business. Again, it all goes back to like, it's a business. It's not as much as it is a transaction, you got to make the most of what you're getting, and, you know, what the school is willing to pay for you, or whatever that the school is paying for you. So, you know,
Yeah.
you know, the good thing about SMU, actually, they have a program for all the student athletes, and it's for, you know, them learning like how to manage their money financially, how to save their money, how to invest any of their money that they might have, and how to you know, like, control it while you're in school for whenever you leave to get a job. You know, that, you know, like I just said, you might not be getting that same opportunity, making that same amount of money when you're leaving, you know, the
Yeah.
school. So, you know, for the, you know, I think it's a positive. It's a big positive, because like I said, some of these kids, they might be getting taken care of out of a situation that they didn't come from. You know, some of these kids really don't have really good home situations, and the money that they're receiving can help them out. Now, it's what they do with it, you know, what they do with it, what they're doing with their money. And if they're making the most of that money and not just blowing through the money, you know, every month that they're getting it, or during the course of the year, and spending it on things, as they spending on a $30,000 chain, or spending, you know, different things. All these kids are wearing all this jewelry and stuff around, and acting like they're, you know, the NFL players, which I get it, because some of them have it, but it's like, okay, well, how is that really that good of an investment when you might be a one and done leaving the school?
Yeah.
In basketball, and like you said, basketball is such a smaller, you know, pool to pull from. The NBA draft only has 60 spots. After
Yeah.
that, you're a free agent, you're going undrafted, and if you get in the G League, you're making a minimum of $50,000 your first year in the G League,
Yeah.
and you're basically playing on wits end, because you're trying to fight yourself for a contract to get a two-way contract. So if you go to that school for 1 year and you get on a deal for $150,000, but you're blowing all your money during the course of school because you have it, and you think it's going to be like you're going to get another deal like that when you get, no matter what happens, you just got to be able to manage your money. So it's like,
Yeah.
these parents have to tell their kids and teach their kids to like appreciate what they got and the money that they're getting and receiving as a
Yes.
whole, because you got to make the most of your time while you're at the school, and make the most of the time and smart decisions about your money. And if you can take classes at your school that can help teach you to value these things that you're receiving and these assets that you're getting, it can really be a positive for these kids whenever they're getting out of school, no matter on what
Right.
their job, no matter what their job is or what their situation will be after they're getting out of, you know, out of playing the college sport.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and do you feel like you guys have used that effectively as a recruiting tool? Like, we're gonna kind of help your athlete manage their money and approach this on a uh holistic approach, rather than just here's a dollar amount and good luck.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually bring the the athletics department, the program that they have that do that, we actually bring them on when the kid comes on campus, that's one of the people that they meet with on their visit. So they take the
Okay.
family with them, and they take the kids with them, and they tell them, these are the different programs you'll learn about while you're here at SMU, while you're here at your time at SMU, and you'll do each different program and whatever month that those people are doing those different classes and courses. So, you know, we do use that as a tool for when they come, because it goes back to, we don't want the kids wasting their money. We want them to, you know, invest, like, take care of it and learn, because some of these kids are 19, 18, you know, 20
Yeah.
years. And so they, like I said, they think that they don't have anything to do, so they're just blowing all their money. You know, they're blowing their money and not making smart decisions with the money that they're receiving. So we use that as one of our tools whenever they come on campus. You know, we make sure they're meeting with those people, and that they're letting them know, like, okay, you have to go to this event on this month, and this next month you'll learn about these these different things during like the course of while your time, like I said, while you're at SMU. And it's been really good for our players that have, that are taking advantage of that.
That's great. That's awesome. And do you feel like so SMU might actually be more capitalized than other American conference teams? Although, are you moving to the Big 12 in basketball as well?
We're going to the ACC. We start there in June.
ACC. Okay.
Yep. June. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you? I would imagine that recruiting kind of or competing in your conference really is a budgetary issue now with NIL and everything else. Is the approach to have like different tiers of contract kids from a coaching perspective, or so do you have? Well, let me give you a baseball analogy. I think a lot of teams will give maybe one position and one pitcher per year a full ride, and the rest of them just get fragments of scholarship money. So, talk about like just you don't have to be super specific, but is there kind of a tiered system or a layering of the different types of recruits you're looking for?
Yeah, so your $100,000 players, and your $50,000 players. As much as I hate to put a number on a kid, that's what it is. The value of who you want to go and get. If you want someone that is going to be top of the line and top dollar, you know what you're looking for. And with that, it does suck because it goes back to the kids just fishing out the money because they know what they're worth, because they've got those middlemen that are telling them what they're worth and what they deserve. So your stipulations when you're going up to go and get somebody.
But there's only like I would think there's only one per year that's that you're recruiting like that, correct?
Yeah. You'll have one good one that you're really trying to fish out for that X amount of money. But if it's not worth it, why would you go over what you want to spend when you can go out and get 2 or 3 of those caliber players at a lesser tier where you can divide that money up and get 3 instead of 1 key person,
Right.
And so it does go to the tiers, but with your recruiting, you're probably going to it depends on your pool of money. You probably will only have one of those 6-figure players that you're really heavy hitting after. And then the rest, you'll just fish out from there,
Right.
So it all just goes back to the whole number things. These kids will throw you the craziest numbers sometimes just to see if you'll do it. And then if not, they'll turn it down. And it's crazy because they'll throw you a number and then they'll go to other schools, and other schools are like, no, we aren't gonna do that. And then they'll come running back to you and be like, okay, well, we can come for less. And it's like, well, no, you already missed your opportunity. We don't want to be your back resource now because we couldn't get you the number that you wanted. And now you're gonna come running back to us because all the other schools said no,
So does that happen a lot? Because that was a conversation I had with a current player once recently. It was like, you can only squeeze so hard, and then you can say what you want, and whatever they come back with is either a yes or no, and it's kind of permanent too.
Yeah. So it's kind of, with us, I can say it doesn't happen because we actually have someone who handles our who runs the NIL for us. So coach doesn't really have to worry about those numbers. He'll kind of tell them what we're thinking,
right,
and what we're going to be set at and what we're firm at. And so there's no confusion of, well, you told me this, but now you're telling me one thing. It's like, no, this is our set number, and we're not going higher. When we're not going higher or lower on this. What you get is what you get, and if you don't want it, then okay, that's fine. We can use it elsewhere,
right.
And we actually, over the summer, we were trying to go get a pretty high caliber player, and it was between us and someone else that he was taking a visit to, and we had given him a number, and he was teetering back and forth. He told us one number, and then he went on the visit, and he called us back and was like, well, they're telling me this number, but if you can get me higher than them, I'll come to your school. And it was like, no, we got our number's set. Like, you can either take it, or you can, or you can go to the other. We don't care if we lose you off the money to go to the other school, then we're fine with that. We
we're
aren't
good.
We're good. Like I said, coach's biggest thing is he wants to see these guys grow and develop at their time at SMU and, become good young men when they're done and graduating to SMU. And that's one of the things that, we try to, push our guys to be great young men and leaders when they're leaving SMU. And so when you got a kid coming in here fishing you out for money, it's probably not who you want in your program, 95% of the time, especially for the culture that you're trying to build. If you're trying to build a certain culture and a stipulation around your program.
Yeah.
So sorry, Gunnar, I have a lot of.
No, go ahead. I just know what I'm going to shift to after we finish with NIL stuff.
Well, so I guess one of the things, now you had NAIA experience. I actually played Division III, and back in the day, I didn't even really think about going to I guess I grew up in the Midwest, so it was either Big Ten or why bother,
Yeah.
and so later I was like, there are a lot there were a lot of other schools that might have worked. But anyways, I guess my point in bringing that up is that the kids that are kind of thinking about NAIA or Division II, or maybe go play like Division III and then try to transfer. Is it better to kind of take that approach if you're not that sort of top tier demanding NIL money? But what do you think of that, and sort of the related transfer portal access for those kids and that whole process?
Yeah, it really just goes to how bad they love the game and how much they appreciate the game. Like if they want to play, get a scholarship and go to school for sports, and you aren't getting that D1 scholarship that you want, you can make the most of your opportunity at the lower level, it's not even your D2s and your D3s. And if this year, there's been a lot of kids coming up from D2 and D3 that are getting D1 scholarship because the transfer portal is so big, they're putting their name in there and they're getting picked up by Power 5 schools because of their production that they had at these other schools, and at these other leagues. And it's like, if you make the most of your opportunity at the schools that are offering you a scholarship, there might be a chance for you to leave and you can put your name in that transfer portal and you can get yourself some money, and even at the NIL level, you can do the same thing. It really is just like, my thing is, if you know that you probably don't have a good chance of going to the NBA, but you love the game and the sports that you play, why not make the most of the opportunity that that is given to you? Why not take advantage of taking that scholarship, and then you might turn it into something. You never know. You could go to D2 for 2 years and win Player of the Year your second year, and then you got D1 schools calling you saying, "Hey, we want you to come here and come to our school and come play and come transfer here. We'll give you a better opportunity, and we can probably develop you into becoming a pro, or at least getting yourself an overseas contract."
Yeah.
And so, as much as kids think it's easy to get a D1 scholarship, it's not. It's really not. There's a lot of work that goes into getting those D1 scholarships. Even at your lowest level of schools, you still can't just get by just being good. It's not like that. And that's one of the things I realized when I was playing. I always talked about I wanted to go play D1, but I never really understood what it really took until I got into coaching. And when I started getting in there Tennessee, and I saw like these dudes are in here 3 times a day working on their game. Like I wasn't doing that in high school because I just thought, all right, everyone gets a D1, D1 scholarship. All right, everyone gets, like I said, thought it was just easy. But when
Yeah.
you really are in there and you see the true development of it all, it's really not. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into becoming great and being a D1 athlete. So like I said, if you don't have that when your time is coming, why not make the most of the opportunity of what is given to you, and then from there you can make your opportunity what it should be, and give yourself a chance to go to the transfer portal and get that D1 scholarship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Isaiah, something that I had a question about that I'm well aware happens in baseball. Like the biggest example that I can think of is how UCLA recruits, because I would have loved to go to UCLA. I don't think I was good enough in high school to go to UCLA out of high school, but I know that I was also at a disadvantage because they almost solely recruit out of Southern California. And so, you guys are you're in Dallas, you're in a big major American city. In terms of recruiting, do you guys kind of focus in on certain geographic locations? And if so, like where do you look? And if not, then how do you guys find that talent that you're looking for in high school?
Yeah. So, it kind of it kind of sucks because, this whole transfer portal thing, like I said, it drives, and it kind of fishes out some of the high school kids because, there's so much talent that's in that transfer portal that a lot of these schools are trying to get to reload with, that these high school kids kind of get left out to dry. But, the state of Texas has got some pretty good basketball. They got some pretty good athletes in the state of Texas, football, basketball, and baseball somewhat. But they so we try to hit the state of Texas pretty hard and hit the Dallas area pretty hard because it's right there in our backyard and there's some really good talent. Like the number one player in the country is in our backyard in Dallas at Lake Highlands. And so we try to hit Texas as much as we can and keep the Texas kids in the state of Texas. And then other than that, our coaches will go to Arkansas, they'll go to Georgia, they'll go to Florida, they'll go up to the Northeast, they'll go out to Las Vegas, and they'll go all over the place to go, watch these kids and go recruit them. But like I said, it's so hard nowadays because like you got so many different people jumping in that transfer portal, and you can't at a lot of these schools you can't miss on certain kids. Like if you have a chance of getting someone in the transfer portal and you can get him to be at your school if he's got 2 years of eligibility and that's what you're looking for, then that's huge. So it's like luckily we got 2 freshmen coming in, and one is from Dallas, and so we're really lucky with that. But like our first year at SMU, we brought 9 kids in from the transfer portal. We literally had our whole guys that we brought in were all transfers, all out the portal. And then our next year we reloaded back up. We went right back to the portal, reloaded up at the portal, and then we just signed 2 high school kids. So that they can have the core foundation continue to be built while they're there at SMU. By the time they're seniors, they'll have a foundation for our standard that we're building. So our coaches are pretty good geographically. Kind of going all over the place, and luckily you can watch these kids online too. So we have we got the accessibility to do that as well, in terms of watching kids. So it's like some people they don't do the high schools, do the high school recruiting anymore. It's all, like I said, they just drive in that portal and they'll just go in there and fish out what they can get with the money that they know that they have.
So there's almost a different style of getting all, like, for example, I feel like Baylor is a very big transfer portal school. And certain coaches seem to do well with that, and other coaches tend to do better with the high school guys. So I guess what I'm saying is it's probably program specific, whether you're hitting the portal hard
Yeah.
or going to high school.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like some of these schools, these head coaches know what they want. They know what they want to do, and they're cool with getting guys out of the transfer portal every year, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to say to heck with the high school kids. We're just going to go out and just keep reloading up, and we're going to make it work, and not go away from their things. And then you got some other coaches that are old school that want to build relationships with kids over the time of recruiting and do all the gritty work, building those relationships with those kids, going to go see them, going to their games, doing in-home visits, getting them on their campus 3, 4, 5 times, and trying to get those kids to come there. But yeah, it's really just what's at your core and like what you do and what works for you, and like different schools and programs.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember Gunnar wanted to go to UCLA, like he mentioned, and I looked at the roster, and every single kid was from California, and I was like, I don't, you'll never, unless you grew up in the backyard of UCLA, you're not going. And I think that's really helpful for kids and parents. You gotta know the program, you gotta know the pathway, and it's not an anomaly when certain teams don't take transfer portal guys and other teams take lots of them. Like it's a program, it's a reflection of the program, and parents and students need to be aware of that. And if you really want to get recruited out of high school to a particular school, you got to think through what that means and whether or not that's even possible. So, and I think set expectations around that rather than just saying, oh, well, I grew up in North Carolina and I want to go to North Carolina no matter what. And,
Right.
They all of a sudden don't take anybody from high school, which that's not their approach. But I'm just saying, like, you got to be realistic as a parent and an athlete. So I wanted to ask, is AAU sort of you had mentioned you can watch players and recruit all over. Is AAU the way to do that, or are there other tournaments that kids need to go to get exposure? What's the best way for kids?
AAU drives it nowadays. They got the Nike circuit, the Under Armour circuit, the Adidas circuit. New Balance is coming on now. They're starting to get teams to come and play. Trying to think. I said Adidas already. Like, that's it. Like, a lot of these high school kids, they get on these teams, these well-known teams, and they're competing against the best of the best. And that all the college coaches, whenever it's not dead period, that's where they are in the summer. Like, our coaches are gone Thursdays to Sundays on during the week, during the summer, like June and July. They're out on the road recruiting at all these different tournaments that they got stationed out, depending on whether it's Adidas circuit, the Nike circuit, the Under Armour circuit. Like, they're going over to watch certain players that that we might want to get, and that that we're recruiting or trying to look after. And so that's it. Like, that's where you're going to get your most exposures during the summertime, during AAU, because you're competing, like I said, against the best of the best. You're playing against McDonald's All-Americans, top 100 kids in the country. So you're gonna get your chance to get recruited at these different events.
And if you're ranked like 1,000th in the country, what's the approach? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these teams have tryouts, so it's like, if you can luck up and get on one of these teams and make the most of your time that you're on that team, then you never know what can happen. Like, there's some underlying kids that probably aren't talked about on these teams, and then they get in one game and they next thing you know, they're blown up. People are like, who is this? Like, this kid's really good. Like, no one talks about him. Like,
right.
And so, it all just kind of starts unraveling. And then, yeah, I mean, if you're lucky enough, fortunate enough to get the opportunity to go to a prep school, that's what a lot of these kids are doing now that are seniors that can't get the scholarships because the transfer portals are driving us. They're going to those prep schools now, and the prep schools are loaded now. They got McDonald's All-Americans on them, so they're lining up against other teams on national TV. They're putting those events on ESPN and different national televised games for those kids to play on and get their exposure.
So do like an extra year of high school, basically.
Yeah, literally your post grad. People call it post grad now. So
Yep.
they're going for another year of basically school, but it's really just basketball.
And what about junior college for basketball? Are guys looking at that as well, or is that less of a thing?
Yeah, junior college is still good. I mean, you still got your kids in junior college that are really good too. That coaches are going out there to go and see, like go and watch. But I feel like it's either post grad or you're going to junior college. If you don't have that scholarship you want, you're doing one or the other. 95% of the kids are going to go to those post grads because, like I said, those games are getting on TV, or they're playing other top ranked schools in the country that are ranked. You're playing against your Oak Hills, your Montverdes, your IMGs, like on and on and on. Those schools and they all got, like I said, top 100 kids on their team. So kids are going there and trying to get more exposure for them for their recruiting purposes.
Yeah.
So
it's tough. You got to figure out a way to get exposed.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah, as much as it sucks, you got to find a way. If you want to get that scholarship and earn your scholarship and get you a free ride to school, you got to find a way to do it. You got to make it work.
Yeah.
So if if somebody is looking to, or I guess from your perspective at SMU, where you guys are heavy, like sort of transfer portal usage in terms of recruiting, is there are there differences in how you view the different levels of the people that are in the transfer portal? So like if somebody's at a post grad versus a junior college versus a D2, does that sort of fluctuate in terms of how valuable you see that player, or I guess how does that work for you guys?
Yeah, so we pay for there's like a service that we have, and at the end of the year it ranks every kid that enters the portal 1 through whatever the last number is on there. I couldn't tell you what it is. And if they're going in the portal, if they're leaving, it says they're leaving or they're staying, and it'll rank them. This is what they think they're projected, and then like what number they are in the portal, whether you're the best, or the worst. And that is all for for that purpose. So it's like you can see what level of player you're wanting to get, and you might think that this kid is really good, but that service might say, well, this guy's actually 250. He's 250 on this list. He's not what you really think, what he is. But like it really does depend. I mean, and it also depends on who's doing the recruiting, what they value, what their core values are, what they're looking at, what they want, what they think they're going to get versus what they're getting.
Right.
It's just a lot of different pulling parts and pieces,
Yeah. Yeah. And so I would assume is it true that you would probably look for better stats the lower you're looking in terms of the level?
Yeah. You want to you want to look at production that you're getting.
Right.
It doesn't the level is going to take care of itself, whether it's post grad, college, D2, D3. It's what you're getting, the production level you're getting, who you're getting, what type of person they are, what they're bringing to your school, what's their everyday, routines, that. And you'll call the high school coach, the AU coaches, the coaches that recruited them, you'll call it, there's a bunch of different pieces that you'll call it do your digging on. Everybody's got different things about certain players, that will either steer you the right way or steer you the wrong way, whether you want to hear it or not. So yeah, what you want, what you're like I said, what you want, what you're looking at, what you're getting. you're doing your research just like everyone else is looking at these players. So the level doesn't matter. It's the production and the performance that you're going to get out of those kids.
Right.
I guess you mentioned it, but the work ethic component, I think is kind of lost on people that may not have a parent that have played, or
Yep.
because particularly in basketball, I feel like it requires hours of practice and on a personal and team basis. And, it's definitely a work ethic sport.
Yep.
And the talent, I mean, there are people that have measurables that you can't compete with, right? So like
Right.
I was watching a game the other day, and I think there was trying to remember if it was Sudan or some African country that had, like, actually there are 3 players that were 7 feet tall or 6'11" from the Sudan, and I'm like, you can't compete with that. So
Right. Right.
for people that are trying to compete on, I guess, non-measurables, I think, you know, work ethic is really a big deal, and honing, the dribbling and shooting
Yeah.
skills and everything else, particularly if you're falling in a, I don't know, 6 foot to 6'5" bandwidth, let's say.
Yeah.
And so are there camps that are, or processes that are particularly effective for that, or how should players view that component to their game?
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy. All these kids got trainers now and different people they're working out with. They're going to camps, certain camps and working on their games. But a lot of it is like just strictly train, like they have trainers in their hometowns that they're working out with to develop their game and expand their game. A bunch of our players got trainers. They go home for the summer and they're working out with their trainers back at home, whether it's someone from them playing AAU that they got in contact with that's doing workouts, that's holding workouts with different people while they're at home.
Yeah.
And different things like that, or word of mouth, getting in contact with someone that can put you in contact with someone who's doing training and holding sessions, to get your work in, your reps in, so you're not at home over the summer not doing anything. People are getting you in there to work out with. And then, some of those people that don't have the luxury of having a trainer and stuff like that, they just got to work. They just got to do the work on their own, get in the gym and do it by themselves. I mean, some people aren't fortunate enough to have those trainers that are out there helping the other people. So it's like, you're going to, if you love it and you want it that bad, you're going to do the work. You're going to work one way or the other. And if you don't love it, then you just aren't going to do it. You're just not going to work.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I think those are most of my questions. The last question I would have is, well, first, feel free to interject anything that you think would be helpful. And then I guess the other question I was going to ask is are there characteristics, non-basketball characteristics, that stand out to you for players that you're recruiting? Something that you're always looking for,
Character wise, that kind of thing.
off the court.
Yeah, I mean, how they hold themselves obviously is one. How they're going about their everyday life and handling themselves. Like what they're posting on their social media. A lot of these kids are on social media now, and some of them post some crazy things. No telling what it is. They'll post different things that they don't think is a bad thing, or reposting guns and stuff, acting like it's not a bad thing, and it's like, well, if they're doing that, that's probably not somebody you want in your program, and like, we have a we have a no gun policy anyways on our on our team. Our thing is, if you feel the need that you need to be carrying a gun and going riding around with a gun or having a gun on you, then you probably don't need to be. You're doing something outside of basketball that's not keeping you safe. You're doing something that's not gonna
Not duck hunting.
yeah, it's not gonna benefit us. So it's the character, what type of person they are, what their values are. We aren't gonna tell our players not to hang out with. They're young men. They're trying to figure life out themselves. So they're gonna make their own decisions of who they're hanging themselves around, who they're surrounding themselves with. And I mean, our biggest thing is just the personality aspect. Just like I said, how you're handling your business. Are you like what are you doing in your free time? Are you wanting to do extra work? Are you lazy? Are you if a coach wants you coming to do film, are you complaining about that? Or are you going to come in there and watch the film and get a better understanding of like what we're trying to accomplish, what we're doing, what you need to get better at? Or are you always complaining about, oh well, I got to go in here today and watch film. I got to go in here and shoot with this coach. I gotta go and get extra reps in the weight room because I'm not strong enough, and they keep begging me to come in there, and I don't want to do that. So it's like you can feel all that out, and you can get some of that out of those kids, like I said in that recruiting process. The more you build those relationships with those kids, you'll kind of feel out what they are. So like my biggest thing, I like kids that are personable, that are open. They can act however they want around us. They don't have to feel like they got to be somebody that they're not and put it on a front. Just be yourself and be you. We aren't ever going to judge anybody that we're trying to recruit. You can be the goofiest person or you can be the quietest person, and that's cool. That's fine. We'll live with that. Yeah, we're going to try to get you out of your shell. We got a young staff, so we joke around all the time, with our players and stuff like that, trying to get them out of their shells. And we aren't going to step on anybody's toes. We know what lines it's not to cross, and things not to what bear not to poke. So it's like,
Yeah.
So it's just like we just want kids that are just personable, and like I said, that are just can be themselves.
So personable
Yeah.
and kids that are work hard, basically, and
Yeah.
coachable. Yes, everybody
Yeah.
loves a coachable kid. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Literally, those three things. Yeah.
Cool. All right. You want to close us out, Gunnar?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, Isaiah, thanks so much for coming on. Good luck in the game tomorrow. And yeah, that's episode 10 with Isaiah Campbell, SMU assistant basketball coach. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Yeah, and Isaiah, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Isaiah. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, definitely.
It was great. It was great.
Thanks
Great
for the insights.
Glad that we got more basketball going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah. All right.
Take
Bye,
it
guys.
easy.
All right. See you.